Welcome to the Briefing Note podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Elder, and joining me today in Toronto, a very special guest and friend, Nguyen. Chi.
Hi, Sarah.
Chi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Might be on my third cup of coffee, which may have been a
Already?
mistake. That's okay. It's noon. That
In
seems reasonable.
Toronto time?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that is fair. I mean, how many hours are you putting in a day right now?
There's sort of 12 to 14-hour days.
Yeah. We've jumped ahead because you and I already know we know each other, but for people who don't know you, I need to introduce you, so I'm not doing you justice. So Chi, you're running in Toronto, Spadina-Harbourfront. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all the ridings mixed up.
There's a few new names. Yes, this riding is called Spadina-Harbourfront.
Oh, I almost got it.
Yeah.
Almost got it. So Toronto, Spadina, Harbourfront. I would like to have a word with the people at the Boundaries Commission because there are some very interesting riding names, and I can't say that they all make sense, but maybe that's a future job path for me. So you're putting in 12 to 14-hour days. You're on your third cup of coffee. Tell me, we're 3 days out from Election Day. Tell me what your day is going to be like today.
Well, a typical day for me is getting my kids out the door to school because I'm still on parent drop-off duty in the mornings. There may be some bickering about board games on the way out. And then a 9 a.m. team meeting and coming into the office where it's hustle, bustle, and great energy as we're getting teams out to start knocking on doors. I go out sort of 3 times a day to knock on doors and meet community members. Occasionally get to have some community meetings with folks in residents associations or community organizations that help me understand what's happening in the community here. So yeah, that's a little bit of what a day looks like for me.
Okay. And then walk me through your evening because I think it's important because you are a mom in politics. So how are you, what does that look like in terms of evenings?
Yes. So, campaigns are fast, furious sprints. So I'm leaning on my very supportive partner to help make sure that parenting is still happening. So he's on evening shift, getting the kids and making sure they're making it to swimming class and all the things. Sometimes grandma helps as well. But I'm out pretty much every night till about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'm missing a round of bedtimes in this particular sprint. And so that's not my favorite, but I know, 3 days more to go.
Yeah. Are your kids excited for Election Day?
I think they're very excited about Election Day. I think everyone senses that we don't know what's going to happen on Monday, but we're, anticipating any possible scenarios. So we're working through conversations with the kids about, what things may look like. And that's, those are can be hard conversations.
In terms of if you win and how your life might change as well as theirs.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you do have the benefit of being in Toronto and Ottawa is not that far away. So your commute would be much easier from a rural and remote part of Canada north or east or west. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for those parliamentarians who have to do that trek across the country, there are many household dynamics to think about for sure. So,
yeah. So tell me about the conversations that you're having with voters in Spadina-Harbourfront. What's the mood like? Vibes in downtown Toronto can be, very different from where I am here in Calgary, Alberta. So what are you hearing? What are people saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that's resonating across the country right now in terms of what kinds of conversations people are having at the doors. But for us, what I'm hearing from community members is fear about what's happening down south with Donald Trump and the continued looming threat both to sovereignty and the economy around tariffs. So those are definitely top of mind for many people that I'm chatting with. Um, conversations about housing as well. A lot of people in downtown Toronto thinking about maybe their next step or how they're going to stay or what a life looks like to build in Toronto. We do have a lot of renters in our area, and it's a really young demographic. And as people think about starting families, et cetera, those are top of mind for people. And it's also really exciting to hear excitement about Mark Carney. His when we chat about him at the doors, people see somebody who is got a steady, calm kind of manner and approach, and so they're excited about what he might bring in terms of a new tone for a next government.
Are you getting any feedback on the polarization or people's ideas of what Pierre Poilievre represents?
A whole mix of responses on that front. There's certainly lots of political views everywhere in this country, and we're definitely finding and chatting with people from across the political spectrum. Some folks really connecting with Pierre's version of where we should be, and some folks in deep fear about the threats that poses for our country. So a real mix, but certainly feeling a lot and hearing a lot of people that don't feel at home with the idea of a Pierre Poilievre government.
Mm. And so, in terms of Mark Carney and you're running for the federal Liberals, what kind of opportunity do you think and what do you see for the future of Canada in this election?
I think we are living through this incredible political moment. I've been involved in trying to encourage people to care about politics for the last 25 years. Every election, I'm trying to nudge people along to say, like, just pay attention. These decisions absolutely matter.
Yeah.
And this campaign feels unlike any campaign I've ever witnessed, where people are really engaged, asking curious questions, trying to get a sense of like, well, who's driving this bus? Like, what's happening here? Like, how is this not your responsibility? Where do these pieces fit together? And so sometimes I end up doing a little bit more civics lessons at the doors than maybe my team wants me to, but I think it's really important that people feel comfortable and understand some of the puzzles here. In terms of where I think we're going as a country, if Mark Carney is elected as the Prime Minister, some of the pieces that really resonate for me are about making sure that we are all uniting together, that we're really focused on securing our future and what we already have, and thinking about how we protect that and kind of moving forward with it, right? So we've got to continue to build on some real strengths. And the last decade hasn't been there have been some tough times. Like, we came out of the pandemic and actually did fairly well as a country. But I think there are still people who are feeling really hurt and in deep pain. And so that's really important work to pay attention to as we try and figure out where we go next. But, I'm really thinking about this as an incredible moment for this country to do some deep building, both on infrastructure and on the things that really will set us into the next 21st century, and that's really exciting. I think, I'm looking forward to the future that I think can be possible.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm going to guess that you're going to say that a Liberal victory is critical to ensuring that future. But what are you saying to people who are, still on the fence, didn't take part in advance polls? Like, what kind of, and they're torn. And to be honest, I've had a number of conversations where people feel like making the strategic vote, and it varies obviously by where you are in the country and what your riding is like, and like totally different places. Like Ontario is not BC and BC is not Quebec, right? And Ontario is not Alberta. So, people who are torn between voting NDP and Liberal at the potential demise of the federal NDP in terms of seats. And then also people who are torn between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. And, I think those are the two top, kind of decisions. What are you saying at the doors if you meet a voter like that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sarah. I mean, for me, the reason I think it's really critical why I'm running for the Liberal Party is like, I want to make sure that we have MPs who have a seat at the table in government to actually move forward on progress, right? So the decisions around actually investing in childcare, making them permanent, making $10 a day permanent, and creating 100,000 new spaces, that's an offer that we're putting in the storefront window. Making progress and actually achieving some of the infrastructure pieces, I think, is so critical. It's really important to have opposition voices, but I think it's as critical to have progressive voices in government.
Yeah. Are you hearing that from from strategic voters who are on the fence in terms of voting, who might have been traditionally at home with the NDP and are now placing their votes with you and the Liberal Party?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple of conversations in the last sort of 24 hours with NDP folks who are thinking and figuring out what makes sense for them. And so, I also share with them that I have 25 years of experience bringing great community solutions as a feminist, as an activist, as a community builder to the table. And so, that's the kind of voice that the Liberal Party is putting in the window for them, and that I will continue to be that kind of advocate with a focus on community at the heart.
Yeah. You've mentioned infrastructure a couple of times. So I'm curious around what kind of infrastructure, you would want to see Ontario build. And then also from over here in my other part of the country, which is very different. The infrastructure that Albertans are concerned about is obviously pipelines. Mark Carney's said a bunch of different things on pipelines. So where are you on pipelines?
I think the reality is that we are in really turbulent economic times, and we will need to think about the whole infrastructure and moving forward, both on renewable energy while continuing to make sure that we keep the lights on in this country and keep resources moving the way they should, is really critical. I think in terms of other infrastructure pieces, some of the things that I'm thinking about in Ontario is continued investment in some of the things that are going to move people around our community. As a person who lives in downtown Toronto, I don't drive. So I rely on public transit, and I get tickled pink when I see more investments in the federal government coming to the table to do that work alongside the city and the province. On Carney and the energy strategy, what's really important for me is that he has a demonstrated track record as a climate champion using economic levers. And so coming to that conversation, wrapping that around, I think is really important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because obviously you're in a downtown Toronto riding, but with an equal voice, if elected to Parliament, in terms of your opportunity to advocate for different things. You also have the benefit of a mayor in Olivia Chow and a premier, Doug Ford, who are more willing to work with you rather than the situation here in Alberta, who, Danielle Smith sees a foil or a sparring partner in a Liberal government and has actively advocated for the election of Pierre Poilievre. So over here in Alberta, I'm a bit worried about the fallout from from the federal election in terms of what it means for Alberta. But obviously that's very different from your reality in Toronto, Spadina-Harbourfront. Do national unity concerns ever come up in your conversations with voters in downtown Toronto?
I think that voters are sharing that they want to be part of the great Canadian story. So they may not necessarily have that remote rural lens or think about, not to suggest that Alberta's remote or rural by any stretch, but they may not zoom out to the full national picture.
Right.
But of course, Toronto is also a really transitory place, right? We have people coming
From everywhere.
from everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Just as Calgary is too, right? Like
Yeah.
welcoming people from all kinds of walks of life, and
And from all
great
over the
big cities
world,
do that.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. In terms of, I mean, with your feminist hat on, in terms of wanting to see more women elected in this federal election, what do you think about where we are right now as a country in terms of electing more women to Canada's parliament?
Yeah, I mean, I think not wearing my day hat in terms of women in politics, so I haven't had a chance to look at all the current numbers, but we know that snap elections can sometimes really be tough for women, but that doesn't mean that there aren't strong women putting their names forward and in electable and winnable ridings. So I'm hoping that we still end up with decent results on Monday on that front.
Yeah. Um, what say you're lucky enough to become the next MP for Toronto Spadina-Harbourfront on Monday night. What you wake up on Tuesday morning. I know it's going to be, if you do win, like a very exciting and probably fast moving kind of environment. But what do you like, say you're lucky enough? What do you want to work on?
My number one issue is housing. And it's really informed by the idea that I think everyone who comes to this city should have a chance at putting down roots here and seeing that they have a life path here. My parents made that decision to come to Canada in the early 80s, and we were able to set roots here. And my brother and sister and I have all been able to stay close within the GTA and really be connected here. And so for me, I'm really excited about the very transformational policy that we put forward around housing. I love that Carney's framing this in the ways that are about, World War II investment, building homes that are affordable in partnership, and also making sure that we have investment in creating more rental stock, right? Like all of these pieces are absolutely critical. A huge piece of this is because my 10-year-old son has, for the last 3 years, because I've been obsessed with housing, said to me, Mom, I don't want to leave Ontario. I want to live where you live, Mom. And so with that, we have to be doing this hard work of continuing to create the housing supply that we desperately need in this country.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that, I mean, obviously having, a mom who advocates for so many different things as well as housing obviously influences and shapes, our children. It's so interesting, the conversations that you can have with kids about politics. Have they been asking you any questions about the election?
Yeah, they've been asking all kinds of great questions about politics, and that's been really fun. Is kind of having them be part of the conversation around what's happening, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and it's a real gift to have them be part of this. I feel really lucky that they are interested and curious. We were in the office the other day and Sam was like, Mark Carney, Mark Carney, Mark Carney.
Because he sees his picture on your walls, or just like Mark.
There's a few posters of Mark Carney around the office.
Right. Mark Carney. Yeah, that's so interesting that, and I think that that's like such an important part of piece of having kids in and around politics, right?
Yeah. And then I think too, I think every kid, traveling around their neighborhood, et cetera, starts spotting the sign game. And so ask questions about, well, who are these guys? And who are these guys? And all of that is so important to kind of frame up. We knocked on a door a few weeks ago where the grandfather answered and the 10-year-old son just was like, grandson was like, what was that conversation all about? And as they disappeared down the corridor, I could hear the grandfather explaining, well, in a democracy, this is your chance to pick the kind of person who you want to be in charge of making good decisions for your community. And
Mhm.
it's like, that was just a beautiful moment to kind of have overheard as he shared with his grandson what the point of politics was. I think that's really, really, really special. And we shouldn't take it for granted. Like, it's a real privilege in this country to get to show up for democracy.
100%. And I mean, there are so many examples around the world, even in the United States right now, where you can see democracy being used in ways that people not only don't want, but didn't intend, really
Mhm.
running up against a wall of, like the different branches of government, executive and the courts. Do you, when you're running and you're thinking about this and maybe making the pitch to voters, does that democracy piece come into play at all for you?
100%. I, uh, you know, every time someone tells me they're voting, and even if they're not necessarily voting for me, that's okay. I let them know I'm super proud that they're showing up for their community, and we don't have to agree on all the things, but we can agree that this is critical and important. So I always high five folks and say thank you. Thank you for getting to the polls. Wherever we end up, if I become your MP, I hope to earn your trust. Like, that's really important as the kind of conversation loop that I think political leaders need to have as their frame of reference as they build relationships in their community.
Yeah. Well, so if anyone that's listening or is coming to the podcast for the first time and is excited to vote for you, Chi, how do they do that? Where do they find out more about your campaign and how to reach out to you?
They can visit the website at electchi.ca.
Okay. What's your plan? Give me, okay, last couple of moments of the podcast, but tell me what your e-day is going to be like.
I think we are going to pop into the office, connect with our team, get them out to go and pull the vote and make sure that our supporters are getting out to the polls.
Yeah.
I love e-day so much.
Okay.
I love getting people to out. It's the best. I mean, getting out to do democracy is like among my top 5 things. But yeah, our team will be out pulling votes. And getting community members out at the polls, helping them, with rides, et cetera, if they need it, and then making sure that the acts of democracy happen in the ways they should. So there'll be folks scrutineering, there'll be folks reminding people that they still have 3 hours, they still have 2 hours, they should get in line now. I hope there's a great swell of so much excitement around democracy that there are lineups that people feel comfortable waiting in. But yeah, and then of course we will wrap it up with a huge thank you to our team and our supporters and volunteers with an election night party. So,
any last thoughts you want to share? Like, what, are you simply overwhelmed at this point? Are you just like, I need a nap? Or like a decompression room?
No, I'm still feeling pretty good. It's so exciting to get to do this. I feel like a real sense of privilege and honor to get to have this opportunity. My ask for the community is to show up and vote Liberal, and vote with your heart. Most importantly, vote for someone you believe in and value because you see that they are going to show up for you as a leader.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great final message. Thanks, Chi.
Thanks, Sarah.
I hope you have a great last few days on the campaign trail, and I'll be watching your riding on election night.
Thanks so much for your time, Sarah. It's great to see you.
Too.